back to the Duel podcast as your host Alicia and myself Megan, where every week we talk the challenge, and we're back again to talk the Challenge 40 Battle of the Eras. Last week we had a break because of Thanksgiving. I don't know why they didn't give us an episode last week when it didn't correlate with on a Thursday, but it is what it is. But we have back again episode 15, and we're getting down to the nitty gritty where we're trying to read out who will not possibly be in the final because we're about 2 weeks removed. I feel like because TJ did say at the end of the episode that they're so close, but it's too many of y'all that's here. But this episode, we saw them really kind of face some fears in a dark ass tunnel with some critters.
Definitely an interesting challenge. I actually forgot that it what the concept of the challenge was, because I know it was in the preview 2 weeks ago, but I completely forgot. So when I seen TJ coming out of the ground, essentially, I'm like, what the hell is going on? And then it kind of dawned on me that the challenge was going to be tunnel based this week. So it did, you know, kind of go in favor of Aviva Michelle, who talked about a little bit, hopefully, that the challenge was geared to smaller and skinnier people. And it did, but it didn't help them much.
It really didn't because Aviv got in and did not know where to go. But I'll get to that in a bit. But we come back real quick into the episode where Corey was hoping that he can continue to be Carl's number one guy and Tori's number two guy. And him targeting the Angels helps whatever side they got going to keep Tori and Kara in a good standing in the game. And he's aligning himself with people who can win at the end, but also kind of keep himself in a good position. And mind you, Aviv also had a penalty this episode in the challenge, and that still was not, that didn't even matter in this challenge, where it was really called tight quarters. And like we said, there's a tunnel based challenge where they would crawl through tight tunnels to solve puzzles at the end of it and then race to another tunnel, which was also pitch black with critters and stuff in it. And also get out of that one and complete a puzzle that had the face of TJ on it. And the first man and woman to win with the fastest time will have power. The guy would have the deciding vote to put in the losing person against the loser of the challenge.
Yeah. So basically, it started with Tori going first, and Tori crushed it. I mean, I don't have anything, really, no notes on Tori. She did extremely well. She kind of breezed through the challenge, and it made it a little bit easier for her just because people don't see what you're doing in the challenge, so they can't get a kind of an idea of how to go about it. So that worked in her favor. And then when Bananas went second, I'm thinking, okay, this will be a little bit easier for Bananas, but not easier in the sense of Tori's time, but just in the same way that Tori went through it, I thought Bananas would be able to do the same. But Bananas is not known for really being a puzzle king, quote unquote. It's been tripping him up in the last couple of seasons that he's been on the show. So once he got to at least the last puzzle, because the middle puzzle, the puzzle in between, he was kind of like, you know what, the puzzle gods shine down on me. I got it like in a good amount of time, and he was able to move on. But once he got to that last station of the last puzzle, he really didn't put two and two together, and his brain literally didn't compute that the puzzle was double sided. And it wasn't until he got to inside of the station and literally heard it from Kyland, or I think it was Derek, talking about the puzzle. And he was like, wait, it was two sides. And that's when he realized his error in not literally flipping over the puzzle to get it. And Bananas timed out, which is like, we're closer to the final. These aren't the weeks to be having this kind of discrepancy. And it was honestly him and Rachel for me with the poor performance of timing out and not being able to get the puzzle done. That's a little concerning given that the finals, it's going to be more or less the same. I think the last couple of seasons we've seen on the challenge how finals are like puzzle based, like a little bit of math here, a little bit endurance, more puzzled. And it's just like, if you can't do that in this situation, I'm not sure how that's going to help you when you get to the final, because I don't have any question about their endurance. It's literally the puzzle. So, and Rachel is lucky because We get to Aviv. Aviv goes into the tunnel, thinking this is going to be a little bit more simpler for her. Even though she has an injury, she's able to, go in the tunnels easily because she's smaller and maneuver in the dark. But Aviv gets lost. And Aviv actually moves like two of the it was like some little fake post that they had put up anyway to kind of not have them go that way. But Aviv was like, I don't know which way to go, so I'm gonna go that way. Fuck it. And no shade, but like production, why would y'all even do that? Y'all could have put something a little bit more effective of her not even just trying to barrel into that, because if I can move it, then I'm gonna go through it. If I can't see anything, if I don't know where I'm going, and if you're not gonna tell me obviously where I'm going, then I'm going to find a way to get there. And so that's what Aviv did. I mean, to her credit, she still kept going. Like, even when she got out of the tunnel and realized that she literally had to run all the way back, it's like she still kept up the momentum to like even get to that point to run all the way back. And even when she got back, TJ was like, hey girl, we don't know where you was at, but you DQ'd at this point because you got lost. And no shade, but that's so dangerous. Like, y'all in the tunnels of God knows where in Vietnam. Like, what are y'all putting these people in these situations? Like, and everyone else was able to breeze through the tunnels but Aviv. I don't know what GPS her system was on, but Babe got lost in the sauce. And it was just so insane to see how she got, like, she got all the way, like the picture that they had put up of where she started and where she ended, like where she like somehow ended up, was two totally different places, obviously, but it was so far from where she should have been. It's concerning to me, actually, because like, why would y'all even let her get that far?
I don't know. That's the funny part. Like she was like in that tunnel by herself, couldn't know which way to go. And then when you get out, she's like, "Okay, where do I go?" Like, ain't no like production experience. Like, hey, you're not going the right way. Y'all just let her just run in the forest, just with no path. But real quick, I want to jump back to Bananas real quick because when he was doing the puzzle and he was talking shit about the face, he's like, "I want to slap whoever this is." Meanwhile, not Bananas. Meanwhile, TJ, whose face it was on the puzzle, was just cackling behind him. It was like, "You ain't gonna do nothing to me."
I think he was more shocked the fact that he didn't realize it was TJ's face, and TJ was getting the kick out of it being him and him not being able to say nothing and him just silently laughing. Like, it was it was actually funny.
That was one part I was like, "This is just it's just hilarious." Like, you didn't notice the back parts of it, but it's a man's face, and it's a man's face you've seen like last 40 seasons, like last 20 out some odd seasons, but it is what it is. But everybody else kind of went through the tunnels pretty decently, like we said. No one else really had an issue aside from Rachel. Towards the end, like this really lasted all day. I didn't think it would really do that, they be like that, but I guess it started a little bit late, so they ended it like when it was dark. And that's even worse to end it when it's dark, because first off, you have me in a pitch dark tunnel, and I have to run in the dark to even do my puzzle. That's insane.
Yeah, Jenny and Rachel basically got the short end of the stick, and Kylan too, because it was a little bit darker when Kylan went. But yeah, the sun was going down on them. I mean, time waits for no man. So Rachel and Jenny had to like thug it out through the dark and figure out the puzzle. But again, Rachel really could not figure out that puzzle. And again, super lucky that Aviv actually DQ'd, because if it was Rachel going in, which it would have been, Rachel going into the elimination, it would have been her and Jenny going up against each other. And that would have been interesting to see who kind of dukes it out in that elimination, especially if it was the elimination that we just saw Aviv and Jenny do.
Yeah, definitely would have it. I would have put my money on Rachel, but I don't know. That would have been an interesting battle between the two. But the winners of this daily were Tori and Kylan. Even though Kylan went in the dark, he was still able to have the best time of all the guys. Um, so they are our winners for this daily. The losers are Aviv and Bananas, because obviously we said Aviv DQ'd and Bananas timed out. So that meant that Jenny and Michelle would have to plead their cases to Tori and Kylan to not go into elimination against Aviv. However, because of whatever friendship or camaraderie Michelle and Kylan have, Michelle was kind of scot free, and it was really straightforward that it was going to be Jenny going against Aviv so that they can get out also one of Banana's angels.
Yeah, really no need for the chamber this week. Just like, I mean, when it was Olivia and Michelle week and there wasn't no need for the chamber, I feel like it could have been the same for this week. Really wasn't any need because Kylan was going to choose Jenny over Michelle. But Kylan did have a little thought and was like, I don't know if I could get my get back here. Like, because season 39, Michelle was on Kylan's neck every single chance, her and Jay, the whole season. And pretty much it was basically Kylan, Horacio, and Nerese versus Michelle, Jay, and the rest of the house on 39. And so honestly, it is surprising to see how much Kylan wants to align with Michelle, but because he has no one left truly to work with, and I think at the point when he came on the show, he really like Michelle was probably one of the only ones also that he was working with that he knew. Like everyone else, I feel like Kylan was just a fan of them. So it wasn't it that wouldn't help his situation in building that relationship. So at this point, Kylan needed Michelle, and it worked in her favor at least, which you know, something about it is just like it's off-putting because all of last season, all I wanted was for Kylan and Horacio to just get over on Michelle and Jay at one point. You know what I mean? And in like now this season, it's kind of opposite in where they have to work together, and it's like, oh brother.
Yeah, and kind of like I think I'm a little bit too nice and kind to kind of throw a shot at Michelle, but it's like I get it. Y'all only two that are really kind of aligned because of your share. I don't know. It's just a weird situation between the two because I was seeing something on Twitter like maybe Michelle got to on Kylan and that's why he ain't going against that lady. I don't know. That's
Michelle, what?
got something against Kylan, like holding something against him.
I don't think that. I really think that he really had nobody because like in his era, it was only a couple of people that he was able to work with. And once his era started dwindling down, he don't really know nobody in the other eras besides Naya that was holding that relationship. Once she was gone, that kind of went away. And like I said, I feel like Harlan is just a fan of these people, so he really don't have anybody but Michelle to hold on to. And now she's kind of aligned because Michelle and Cara have a thing. So like that kind of helps his game too. So like having Michelle as that anchor, it helps him, but I don't think she has that much power over Kylan. Like I think if it was like any other circumstances or more people were there, he would be probably be able to go against her.
Yeah, I see that. Also, really quick before we get to the arena, um, Corey and Kylan had a conversation and they brought up that we haven't had a black male winner. You're not a black male winner on the challenge since Nehemiah. And that is so funny. I'm sorry, that is so funny to me that he brought that up because I'm sorry, but we have footage of that man on live talking about oh I know black.
Yeah, this I think that part of the episode actually threw me for a whole loop. Like I was so tired watching this episode, but I literally sat up in my seat when Corey started to speak, and this was the edit of where they were going and saying how Corey, would want Kylan to win because he wants another black man to win. And, Kylan also like engaging in this conversation, and they brought up Nehemiah, obviously, who left. And, I don't want to go too long on this because whatever, but I believe Corey had posted results of his DNA saying that he was 30% black. I've seen Corey's dating history, and this is not to say that that does not make you black or not, but he was raised by a white woman. Corey, in the past that I've seen him or that I've known to accept what he has given me, has not shown that he wants to be a black man fighting, and neither does Nehemiah. No shade, because I already spoke about Nehemiah in 2020 and the performativeness of what he was doing. I feel like that whole edit was very performative, was not necessary. Kylan also can get it too because I don't think that Kylan also likes to say this that he wants to put on for a black person, a Mexican, autistic, blah, 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 blah. At the end of the day, half of it is performative and it's not real. I don't believe anything that comes out of these people's mouth. And I'm saying this as a black woman. I don't give a fuck who feel away or who wants to write anything about it. I do not feel like these people are actually standing for a cause, and I can give a fuck less about what they got going on. And the fact that Laurel also tweeted about this like a couple months ago or whatever that was, when she was like, oh, if they don't cast 50% black people and 50%, like, it's always going to be an uphill battle. Like, why do I have Laurel as an ally on this bullshit is actually insane to me. Like, whatever, dude. And at the end of the day, if Kylan wins, congratulations. Yes, he is black, and yes, that'll be great for the show. If Corey wins, I'm not looking at it as Corey as the first black person to win. I'm sorry, Corey. That's not who I see when I look at you. But if you want to, have that title this year, go ahead, get that NAACP award going, brother. I don't know what to tell you.
You said it all. It was just so funny to me because immediately after he said that, I looked on Twitter and they posted that video from a couple years ago, and I was like, you know what, y'all got it, y'all got it. Um, but we go to the arena, and Kylan, he obviously votes for Jenny to go into elimination, and Jenny and Aviv are playing Iron Triangle, where they're locked in a cage that's triangle shaped, and I have to run and snag a ball and throw it over the cage, but make sure it is in bounds in the circle around it. The first to do so twice will win and stay in the game. And I'll give Aviv credit because she did keep up with Jenny, but she just couldn't get over the hump.
Yeah, I mean, she wasn't keeping up. She was just being scrappy, to say the least, because she couldn't get to the ball first on multiple attempts of her doing that. And yeah, it just was her at one point jumping on Jenny's back and trying to scrap the ball out of Jenny's hand. And of course, they queued up CT and Johnny, you know, Johnny on CT's back carrying him. So, I, I mean, Aviv, for what the performance was, she performed well, given the fact that she came back after 20, almost 20 years of coming back to do the show and being in the top like 11 or 12 women that were left, or just people that were left, period, and like in the top 5 or 6 women. That's actually, really impressive for her to have gotten this far, no matter how she got there. So, I mean, I would hope to see Aviv come back in like an all-star setting. I'm not sure if the main show would be for her, but I think that she can actually do something in All Stars if she was to return, because she does seem like she's kept herself up in great shape. She can manage, at least, well, it seems like, but this was definitely hers to lose, and she definitely lost it. But yeah, and also Jenny was like, we circle back to what we talked about earlier with Jenny and Rachel doing this. I feel like Rachel would have probably like crushed Jenny, because Jenny at one point, I understand the medicine ball was like 10 pounds, but she threw it over and she can like it went over out of bounds. Like, she was going too hard, and we all know Jenny's endurance is not there. She probably would have been wheezing for her asthma pump if her and Rachel was going at it. So I really think that, no shade, but I really think that uh Rachel and Aviv, I mean Rachel and Jenny would have been a better matchup in this instance, and I think this was actually a good elimination like they had in the arena, but it was just the contestants weren't um it didn't live up to the hype.
Yeah, because at one point, I think it was like the latter round, Jenny could barely get the medicine ball thing up, and I give Aviv credit because she was like on her back for a bit, but she just kept like, it's like how like when you see a big man in the middle and they try and do a layup and it just don't go in. That's how I felt watching Jenny on like that last go around before like she actually got the last like ball over. But at one point, that's that. I'm like, I don't like how this looks. I'm like, yeah, like you said, like if it was Jenny and Rachel, Jenny probably would have been out. It would have been really close, but she probably would have been out. But yeah, Jenny ends up winning 2-0 though, and she stays in the game and she makes her targets. Obviously, she wasn't gonna pick Bananas, and she couldn't pick Kylan, who she really wanted to, because he put her in this at the target for like 3 times in a row. But she's like, I'm just gonna let the guys that are not on the table for me be targets. So that means that Corey, Jordan, and Derek are the targets heading into next week.
Yep. Not surprising. Derek basically is like, I gotta do what I gotta do. And at this point, they are so close to the final that hopefully Derek cannot lose and doesn't get put in, but probably would.
Yeah. And Corey's like, oh, this is a good way to get Jordan out. But you're, no, I was like, it's the best way to get Jordan out. Either like he loses or he's like, oh, I don't care if I lose, I can get him out in elimination. Good luck and Godspeed. That's very much delusion.
Ambition and delusion at its finest.
Yep. And that's the recap. But I'm gonna get into some of these tweets real quick from this week's episode. First one is, imagine being the camera guy who has to follow Aviv and not tell her she went completely off course.
Yeah, I would be, like I said, thrown off because the way she went and how she even got through to that part of the tunnel, it's like, why don't y'all even just tap her on the shoulder and been like, no, or at least have a flag and say wrong way. Like y'all could did that instead of putting up two sticks on the thing and being like, yeah, don't go that way. Like, what are y'all doing?
Yep. And I just kind of mentioned this too. In this next tweet, Corey just realizing that Jordan is the biggest threat and wants him down in the sand. If you wanted to do that, you could have been done that. But what happened?
Corey is ambition and delusion at its finest again.
And the last one, I low key wish Kylan held grudges because he doesn't owe Michelle anything after how she did him last season.
That's facts. And I feel like if it was the other foot, like other shoe on the other foot, she would probably still be going at Colin because would feel protected because of her relationship now with Devin that has made her have a relationship now with Tori. She would feel more inclined to go against Colin than she would if the other shoe was on the other foot, like I said. So Colin a better person than me. I'll say that.
Yep. And if that, those are all the tweets I have from the timeline for this episode.
And that is the end of this recap. We will be back more to discuss the challenge season 40 more next week. Thank you guys for listening. If you would like to follow us on Twitter, you can at Dual Alliance Pod. You can follow Megan at Maxim Hines and myself at ASM_S5. And if you are listening to this podcast, you can watch it on YouTube at Dual Alliance Podcast. We'll see you guys next week. Peace out.
Bye.